Hey, sixth grade friends. This is Percentages Day 8. We are talking about a new concept today, percent increase and percent decrease. I think that most of you are going to have a pretty easy time with this because I think you're very familiar with this concept just from life and spending money in the world and things like that. So let's start off with a little discussion. If we are looking at discounts, so say you go to a store and there's a sale, and the sale is 10% off of coats, or who knows, if that's not a very good sale, by the way, so, just keep that in mind. But, if you had 10% off of a coat, what would a 10% decrease on $100 be? And I bet you can do this in your heads. 10% of $100 would be $10, right? So a 10% decrease on $100 would be 100 minus 10, which would be $90. So that would be the final cost. How about a percent increase? This is a little bit less common. A percent increase might happen when, say, you have a job and you get a raise. So let's say that your salary is $100 per day and you get a 10% raise. What would your final salary be? Well, 10% of $100 is still $10. And if that's an increase, then that $10 plus $100 would be your final salary, which would be $110. Okay, now actually just sticking on that point really quick, it's kind of important to note here that if you have a percent increase like this, so we have $10 plus $100, right? And now your salary is $110 a day. You should just do this on your own. But take a look at whether or not a 10% decrease would bring you back down to $100 a day. Because now you've increased that salary, so 10% of $110 is not the same thing as 10% of $100. So you should figure that out. All right, another example with percent increases, interest rates. So I'm sure a lot of you have bank accounts. And if you deposit money in your bank account, you are paid some amount of interest every year by the bank. The interest rate is the percentage earned in 1 year on the amount of money you invested. For example, if you were to invest $400 and you earned, say, 5% interest, you could figure that out really quickly like this. 5% of $400, and that would be $20, right? So at the end of the year, you'd have earned an extra $20, which instead of having a bank and a balance of $400, you would have a balance of $420. That's pretty nice, right? Well, how about when you take out a loan? When you take out a loan, then you're going to pay interest. And that's no fun, but, it has to happen sometimes, I guess. So if you borrow money, at the end of the year, you're going to owe that money. So, for example, on our 5% of $400, what would that be? If you borrowed $400, at the end of the time period, say it's a year, you would owe that $400 plus the 5% of the $400, so $420. So that's why taking out loans is a bad idea. Okay, another example of percent increases would be sales tax. So you know that when you go to any store, you don't get to just pay what the cost of the item is, right? You have to pay sales tax, and in Fort Collins it's about 7, and I think right now it's 7.35%, but I might be off on that. So when we buy certain goods, we have to pay a percentage tax on them. And then the seller sends that percent to a government agent. So let's take a 7% interest rate. So let's say you have a 7% interest rate on $100 of groceries that you just bought, or your mom, as the case may be. When you get to the checkout, you're not going to owe $100. You're going to owe $100 plus 7%. So you're going to owe that $7 plus the $100 in merchandise that you bought. So you'd have to pay $107 at the checkout. All right, let's do some word problems. Okay, the bookshop gives a 20% discount during a sale. Julia bought a dictionary and a storybook, which cost $40 and $15 respectively. How much did she pay total? Well, if she bought two items, one was $40 and one was $15, then she paid $40 plus $15, which is $55. Okay, so $55 is 100% of the cost of those items. Now, if the bookshop is giving a 20% discount, that means she's only going to have to pay 80% of the cost of the items. Okay, so this portion right here is what Julia, is it Julia? Yeah, Julia pays. All right, so we need to find, if we're asking the question, how much did she pay total? We want to find 80% of $55. So let's set that up. We have 80%, so 80% times 55 over 1. And hopefully by reading this problem, you have recognized that we are looking for a quantity for our end result here and not a percentage, because the question is not what percent of her original did she pay. That would be easy. That would just be 80%, right? The question is how much did she pay total? So if we do that math and we do a little cross-canceling, 80 over 100 times 55 over 1, we're going to get $44. So she got a good deal, didn't she? Okay, let's try a different type of problem. There were 140 members in a choir last year. The membership was increased by 15% this year. How many members are in the choir this year? Okay, in this problem, so this is not a percent decrease problem. This is a percent increase problem. So in this problem, we have 140 members right here. That is our 100%, okay? And then our problem tells us that the membership was increased by 15%. And we want to know how many members now are in the choir. So let's set this up. We're looking for a quantity that's greater than the original 100%. We want to find 115% of 140. And even though that percentage is larger than 100%, we're still going to use the same process. So we're still going to set that up as a fraction. 115 over 100, it's totally okay, that's an improper fraction. We're just going to multiply it like we normally do, times 140 over 1. We're going to do that math, and we're going to get 322 over 2, and divide that out, and we get 161 people. Now, you should be doing your own math with this. I'm not showing you all the steps. You need to understand that you are multiplying the numerators and multiplying the denominators. In a problem like this, I've cross-canceled a bunch, so I probably crossed those off. Actually, I don't even remember how I originally did this, to tell you the truth. And then, it looks like I cross-canceled this, and I divided 10 by 5, and I got 2 up here, and then I divided 115 by 5, and I got 23. So 23 times 14, 322, and 2 times 1 is 2. All right, so making sense, I hope? Let's keep going. Okay, this time we have some soccer players. And since this problem is exactly like the last problem, you should go ahead and stop the video and try this on your own, and then come back and check your work. All right, so the process on this problem is exactly the same. We're looking for a quantity of players that is greater than the 100% that I had last year. So this is a percent increase problem. So 250 players is my 100%. It says the membership was increased by 8% this year. How many players are in the league this year? We're looking for 108% of 250. So let's figure that out. So we set that up same way as any other percentage, 108 over 100 times 250 over 1. And we're going to end up with 270 players. Okay. All right, let's look at a sales tax percent increase problem. So this is just like the other two, only this time we're working with money and sales tax. So Sawyer bought a bicycle which cost $600. $600 is my 100%. In addition, he had to pay 3% sales tax. How much did he pay total? Now, you know what? I usually tell you to show, well, you should still, you need to show your work on this problem. But I bet you could pause the video right now and maybe even try to do some of this in your head, because you should have a really good working knowledge of sales tax, because when you're out and about and buying your awesome math teacher Christmas presents, you should know how much you're going to actually pay at the end of the transaction. So, but let's go ahead and set this up like we would. So we're going to find 103% of 600 and set it up like normal, 103%, so 103 divided by 100 or over 100 times 600 over 1. Oh, look at all that cross canceling. That's going to be so much fun. Let's get rid of those. And now we just have 103 times 6, which is going to give me 618. And that's going to be my final cost. The bicycle will be $618. This problem is exactly the same as the last with different numbers. Go ahead and try it on your own and then come back and check your work. Alrighty, we're going to find 107% of 350. It's going to give us $374.50. Okay, now we have a sale. So this is similar to the problem that we did earlier on the front page of your notes, where we had a bookshop giving a 20% discount. So this time we have a bunk bed for $600, and at a sale, the price was reduced by 25%. What is the sale price of the bunk bed? So the price that we're looking for is right here. Okay, so we're going to find 75% of $600. Not hard, right, guys? I think everybody can do this. So, oh, look at all those beautiful zeros that get to cancel out. So then we just have 75 times 6. And that's going to give us $450. That was a good deal. Okay. This last problem is interesting. Okay, let's read it really carefully. So it says that there were 24 cats and 20 dogs on a farm last year. This year, the number of cats increased by 25%, but the number of dogs decreased by 15%. Find the overall increase or decrease of animals on the farm. Let's underline right there. Overall increase or decrease. So we added some cats, but we lost some dogs. So this one's going to take a little bit more work to do. All right, let's think about our strategy here. Do we need to know the total number of cats? Not really. We don't need to know the total number of cats or dogs, because the question that we're trying to answer is we want to find the overall increase or decrease. So we need to just find the number of cats that were increased and the number of cats that were decreased. Let's deal with cats first. So we need to find 25% of 24. So we set that up, 25% of 24, and yes, it's just 24 divided by 4, so you could do it that way. So we gained 6 cats. Now let's deal with dogs. We want to find 15% of 20. So we're going to set that up, 15% of 20. And we're going to do the math on that, and we're going to find that we lost 3 dogs. So the overall change is just the difference. The overall change is 6 minus 3. So we have 3 additional animals on the farm. Okay, that's it for percent increase and percent decrease.